Hey, what's going on, everyone? Romeo here. In this video, I want to explain what drives my personal philosophy when it comes to learning Spanish. I recently released my video on what I plan to do in 2026 to increase or augment my vocabulary or to get better with the language. And what's interesting is that if you look in my back end, here's the back end of all the videos that I've produced on this channel so far. I have a dislike. And the interesting thing about having a dislike is that you never know if it's just some rogue hater that's just going through and disliking everything, or the person just disliked the philosophy, and because of that, they did a drive-by dislike and then they went on. But I wish someone would actually just leave a comment to say what they disliked about the video, because then that would give me a little bit more insight. But anyway, I would like to talk about my personal philosophy and why I choose to learn the way I learn. In the video, I suggested that I'm going to use two main resources, and essentially what those resources will allow me to do, the big picture, is that it would allow me to take in more vocabulary, more sentences that I see, and more of the structure of the language, so that when I see those structures or words in context, I'll know immediately what they mean. Or when I hear those structures or words in context, I understand what they mean. Now, the reason why this is my philosophy and why it's so important for me is because I firmly believe that you cannot say, read, or understand something that you cannot comprehend. If you think about it, it really makes sense. I don't care how many videos you watch, for example, if you don't know what you hear when you hear something such as soy un hombre y me gusta comer. If you don't know what that means, then you can't comprehend it. And so seeing these things as I come across them, as I study vocabulary or as I study a story, like that cements in my brain. Like there's this concept that's called Occam's razor. And it's a philosophical concept that you may have heard about. Essentially, it says Occam's razor is a problem-solving principle that recommends searching for explanations constructed with the smallest possible set of elements. Essentially, it's the simplest answer is your answer, as opposed to like going through all of these different methods and ways to try to come up with an answer. Like I am a solution-driven, problem-solving person. And the way I study the language makes sense to me based on not only the fact that it just makes sense, but also what I experienced. So that said, let's address why my plan doesn't primarily involve listening to anything or even watching television. First, I'm not a person that watches a bunch of television, period. I don't care how interesting it is. Like, I'm not going to sit in front of a television to watch something to try to understand it. Like, I either understand it or I don't. So, Spanish videos is not really entertaining for me, and neither are Spanish podcasts. Like, it's just not entertaining. It's a waste of my time because I feel that it's a passive activity, and either I know what's being said or I don't. Like, I'm not going to pause the television to try to find out what's being said. Like, that's what my study is for. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, it's this strange thing that I experienced in when I was reading the subtitles and going through all the workbooks that I have gone through over the years. This weird thing occurs that if you understand what you read and you actually say that thing out loud when you're reading, or you say it in your head, the strange thing is you're going to hear it in the wild and you're going to know what's being said. Like, you literally don't have to, for me, I literally don't have to hear everything that's being said on television for me to understand when it is being said when I eventually do watch television or have a conversation with someone. It's like, as long as I know the word or the sentence or the structure of what's being said, that translates for me into conversation. It's crazy how it works, believe it or not. Which goes to like another point. In my explanation, I don't talk about speaking. Right? I don't use online tutors. I don't speak with anyone. I do a lot of speaking Spanish out loud to myself. And I also do a lot of speaking as I'm doing my studying. So it's not just a matter of doing a workbook and finding the answers to it. Every time I go through the workbook, I'm coming across sentences that I have to say, I have to verbalize out loud. Like that is speaking. And when you try to compare that to, let's say, having an online conversation with someone, like you have to speak the language. That is 100% true. But when you compare having an online, let's say you wanted to set up a online conversation with someone and you do that every day. Well, when you think about just that, number one, it costs money to, even if it's $10 an hour, it still costs money. You have to spend money to talk to this person in Spanish. But if you think about it, like, how dynamic can those conversations really get? If you had 365 days of talking with someone because you feel talking is important, what you gather from those conversations, I don't think it's as comparable as using workbooks that have all types of dynamic conversations, so to speak, in those workbooks. Like, let's bring up the Complete Spanish Grammar Workbook and let's see how dynamic these topics are. You see the chapters, it goes over all of these different concepts in 26 chapters. And at the end of each of these chapters, as I said in the previous video, I will be forced to have a conversation with myself about all this random stuff that I must translate into Spanish. So here are things that I must be able to translate into Spanish in chapter 1. Here are the things in the conversation that I must be able to translate into Spanish in chapter 2. Let's go to chapter 3. Here are all the things that I must be able to say in Spanish at the end of chapter 3. So I don't need to have a conversation with someone online because all of this is creating a giant repository of conversation for me. And I think that it is unmatched with any conversation that you will have online. Because if you think about what a conversation is, you will probably go online with someone and you talk to them and the concepts will be the same. You would talk about your family, your friends, and all this other stuff. And I believe that's why so many people can fake that they have a vast understanding of the language when in reality, their language or their output is limited to only the conversations that they can have with someone online. Like, do you imagine that you'll have a conversation about someone online? In this context, I see he is pleasant, tenacious, and very honest. Like, when will you be challenged to use the word tenacious, for example? Milena and his wife agrees with him and she is ready. Like, this is real stuff. So anyway, this is what drives my philosophy. As I said in other videos, just get as many of the words as you can in context, and it will all come together for you. I promise. And when I'm ready to watch a podcast or a YouTube video, I can understand it. I really can. So, anyway, I hope I didn't just do a bunch of rambling, and I hope my philosophy makes sense. The philosophy is get in as much of the language that you can. Yes, use various things in your first year to get a good understanding and mastery of the basics of the language. And then after that, It's only a matter of adding to your vocabulary. And the way I do that is to use workbooks and stories, because that is the quickest way for me to gather context in different words that I can internalize, which for me leads to both comprehension when I hear those words spoken and output when I have to present those words to natives or others who speak Spanish. Anyway, hope this helps. If it did, give this video a like. And until the next video, peace.